Hi, and welcome everybody. As we further unpack our publishing curiosities for this episode, let's dive into the true cost of self publishing. So, Alinka, regarding the true cost of self publishing, you argue that most authors underestimate what costly really means. So, what's the most misunderstood cost? Money, time, or opportunity?
Mhm. Well, I think there's a pretty big misunderstanding as to what, self-publishing actually means and how much it costs. I had a conversation with someone who said, you know what, I can just self-publish for free.
Mhm.
And my instinct is either just let them believe it, right? And go, because nothing teaches as well as life experience, right? So why waste my breath and explain when you can just learn it the hard way, right? Like the kid, let them stick their hand in the fire and see that it's actually hot rather than explain it. Sometimes it's faster to just say, just go ahead and do it. Okay, so how is self-publishing actually free? Well, if you want to self-publish a high quality book, then you probably need to invest as you would if this was a professional endeavor. I had a client who said, I don't think I want to, spend. He said, I don't think I want to spend 30K on this. Like, I think like I want to spend 60K because I want this to be like something really amazing. And this is the type of mindset that people who want to put out a quality product have. So how can we self-publish for free? Let's see if it's possible. I actually put together a book about this called Outsource Your Book, where I go over each step of the book creation process and how much it costs. Okay, so step one, right, is positioning. You need to position the book. How can you do this for free? You can just not do it. You can just not position the book, right? Who cares? It's like putting together a business and figuring out what the market needs are, what people actually want. You can just not do it and just set something up, hope and pray it's going to work out. Okay, so that's how you do it for free, right? Don't do any positioning. If you're actually going to do positioning, you need to hire an expert who knows how to position books. So you need to find that expert and make sure that they will even do something like this for you um, as a sort of consulting project, because typically this is part of the book publishing project. So you're going to do that, and then the company you work with is going to take care of the whole adventure. So it's not really common that you just find a consultant who's going to do the positioning for you and then say, okay, off you go, go take care of the rest. So how do you do positioning? Well, okay, you find a consultant, you pay them for an hour, and let's say you're able to do that. But then, okay, are you going to write this book? Right? You can write it for free. Of course, you can write it for free. I assume you're a good writer. I assume you're a good writer. You know how to write a good book. Because if we're gonna, spend time and write something terrible, I don't know if that's the best use of our time. If we have a lot of content, great knowledge, but we don't actually have the skill, because not everybody is, a talented writer, then there are other ways to do it, right? Like I've had people say, I can just do it with AI. Yeah, you can. Have you seen the output of that? And even if you know how to use AI, it's well, in that case, it's essentially the calculation you would make is how much is an hour of my time work. Okay, so like you can argue, like your hour is worth, like an hour of your time is worth nothing if you're unemployed. If you're unemployed, it's worth nothing. If, however, you do have a job or a business, you have to see if it makes more time, if it makes more sense to spend that hour writing or doing what you're talented to do. Um, okay, then we can talk about ghostwriting, right? So we have this whole writing element, and a lot of people are able to write it themselves, or they think they are. That's probably where you'll create the least damage. by writing it yourself, if you're a decent writer, okay? So you're going to create the most damage if you don't do any book positioning and you just don't know what you're doing. And let's say you're a fairly decent writer, so I think that's the least damage you're going to do. Now, where people really mess it up is when we get into the editing part, okay? Everybody knows within the publishing industry that a writer, even the best writer, the writers that are famous, the writers that have sold gazillions of copies, they don't edit their own work. You cannot edit your own work. That's why the role of editor exists, okay? So you can do it for free, upload it to AI and say, hey, edit this according to my preferences here. You can do that, not a problem. You just have to sort of put on the scales and weigh whether that's good enough in terms of your reputation and what you're putting out there. So the book that is going to represent us, the book that our prospects are going to pick up, the book that our network is going to be able to identify us by, do we want it to just be checked by AI, or do we want a professional to actually go over it? If the quality of the work and our reputation is not very important, then we can spend close to zero for this. Next, we have interior layout and formatting. So that manuscript, like we need to turn that into an actual book, right? It has a right page, left page. It doesn't just look like that. You have to create, they have to edit that. We continue using humans for this. This is a very annoying part of the process, and it requires a lot of detail. It's still something that even when AI can be amazing for many things, it's not really, the formatting is something terrible. You can do it yourself. You can just learn it, right? You can spend hours checking for double spaces, or whether it's justified to the right or left, or it's something that I personally couldn't imagine spending hours of my time, where I know what an hour of my time is worth, and it's not worth that. So you could potentially do it. Like, you can do it all on your own and spend very little. The problem is that the quality probably is going to be pretty low. Now, how do we write the right copy, the description, everything? Well, yes, you can say to AI, write a gripping description of this book based on those other books out there. You could. The thing is, are you able to tell if it did a good job? Right? Because, like, I can tell, but I've been in this for over a decade, so I'm able to really quickly see and instruct AI whether it's doing a good job or not. Are you able to do it? If you are, good. Otherwise, it could be a mess, because you only have one chance to make a good first impression with the algorithms. And if you mess that up, typically the algorithms are just going to say, like, you're not a product that's going to sell. Part of that is the cover design, okay? How are we going to create a book cover that actually sells? That also requires a lot of attunement to what's selling. Like, one of the biggest mistakes I see is when authors are so sure what they want on their book cover, they hire a designer, so they tell the designer what to do. The designer will do that, right? That's what they have been requested to do. That's what they get paid for. And they will not push back saying, your concept is not a good concept. Like, it's, especially if you're working with people from India or the Philippines, they're not going to tell you your concept sucks, okay? Because culturally, it's not something that that you would do. Like, it's just it clashes, right? So they're not going to tell you that. So you're going to go out and have a crappy cover, essentially, right? So you do need a partner that's going to challenge you, okay? So when you come to us, and come with a concept, I typically, make funny faces, have a little laugh, and say, like, would you be opposed to us suggesting an alternative? Typically, people are not opposed to an alternative. And once we show those alternatives, and once we show what actually sells, like then they see like what their original version even was, and they themselves laugh and say, well, thank you for, like, they come for the feedback, they come for the pushback, right? Like that's what you are looking for when you want the best possible product. And then we go into launch. So how do you launch a book to be successful? Well, anybody can hit publish on KDP. A guy published a picture of his foot. Yeah, you can do that. Now, the market is the real judge of whether that's going to sell or not. So how do you do that not spending anything? Very difficult. Like the chance of becoming a best-selling book with no preparation, no marketing, like I'm not going to say zero, but 0.000000001. It's really funny. Some people say, if the book is good, then it's going to become a bestseller on its own. Well, no, because it's not a best written book. It's a best-selling book that all the lists are about bestsellers, and all the bestsellers are orchestrated. There are marketing campaigns, there are marketing teams, there's ad spend, there are networks that have been built for years. It's like when you come to us, like you get a network that we've been creating for over a decade, network of readers, network of librarians, network of influencers, promoters. So all of that's not a like one-time ad spend. That's and even if you go into, okay, I'm just going to run a couple ads, like you have to test ads. You have to run hundreds of ads until you find one that actually works for you. So then you go into, okay, more marketing things. All of the marketing things cost. The problem is that people who've been in the industry for a while know which actually will bring you an ROI. If you're just coming in, you need to find out. So very likely you're going to invest in things that are going to turn out not effective. So how can you do this for free or low cost? You can publish a book that's that you won't spend on, or you will spend very little. Just the quality of it is going to suffer. So now, essentially, have you heard the saying, like you get what you pay for? Like there's a reason for that. So essentially, just like our client who said, I don't think I'm going to spend 30K on this. I think I'm going to spend 60K. That's the mentality of how. So if that's my budget, what are the things that we're able to do in order to give the book the biggest possibility of success?
Okay, so that's a lot of information, related to what you've discussed about self-publishing. So at what point does self-publishing stop being a creative project and start becoming a business? And how should that shift change an author's mindset?
Well, publishing will be a business project, not a creative project, whenever there is an ROI linked to it, and it's part of a funnel. So any business book is going to be a business project. If we're talking about fiction books, most of them will be passion projects. No, not all, because there are fiction authors who are like they're in the business. There are fiction authors who are in the business of writing books, who have a business plan, who have everything worked out. But if you are a business person and you're doing the book in order to get more leads or to convert the leads that you already have, to open doors, get more speaking engagements, become the person that is the authority in your niche, that's when your book is a business project and not a passion project.
Okay, and then related also to the first point that you discussed, so you mentioned about editing, cover design, and formatting, about the cost of self-publishing. So what are the most common hidden costs that surprise first-time self-publishers? So like what are the expensive mistakes or expensive learnings that usually they go through when they try to self-publish?
Well, I think the expensive mistakes are just hiring the wrong people, because typically people are not going to work for free. So you hire an editor that you pay for relatively a small amount of money, and then you read the work and you see like what happened here. That's not what you were expecting. So now you have to go and find another person who's gonna do the same job, and you don't know this person, and you could continue like that for years. We have a client that was trying to get his book done for 10 years before we were finally able to help him. So for 10 years, he was hiring people, hiring experts, hiring mentors to be able to get the book done. And I think the mentors really enjoyed that because, of course, as long as his book wasn't written, like they had work, they could continue mentoring him on how to write a book. And I remember when I had that conversation with him, I said, I don't know if, you and your mentor are aligned, like your goals are aligned, because essentially as soon as you get the book done, like what's the mentor going to do? So that's when, after many, many years of working with that person, he had to, he made a change, because, he could either continue in his current state, paying that person for him, feeling mentored, but not really getting anywhere closer to his goals, or make a change where he's actually going to get the book out. And we did. So now he came back for another book. But that's the biggest risk, that you're going to hire people that have no business of being of even doing that type of work. You might probably imagine, like, myself having published around 50 books, I get daily emails and messages on LinkedIn from people who want to help me with my writing, help me with my publishing, help me with all these things. And I see right away, like, I look first of all at the email address, right? Weird email address, okay? Like there's no experience, there's no background, there's nothing. It's like, believe me, I'm going to get you more exposure, okay? Just pay me a couple $100, right? Okay. So plenty of that going on. Like, you need a it's like writing a book, creating a book, orchestrating that launch is like building a house, okay? Like, typically you're not going to hire all the contractors yourself and building that project. There is somebody who's going to be responsible for that, who already knows the people, who already knows who does good work and who doesn't. So similarly with a book, like, you want to work with somebody who has done this for others successfully. Unless you yourself want to get into it and learn it for yourself, like, you have a lot of time, publishing is where you feel like that's going to be your career or your business, like, then go in and dive in. But the same way, right? My cover designs, right? Because I'm not an artist, I have a team for that. The same way, I'm not going to do my cover design because I don't have that talent, and the book would not represent the type of authority and branding that I would want. And in the same way, like, you shouldn't hire somebody here, another person there, and try to patch it together, because the result is just not going to be a good extension of the type of quality and authority that you want to convey.
So we've covered, the financial costs of self-publishing. So now let's get into the non-financial costs of self-publishing.
If you want to do self-publishing, like, you want to self-publish because it's gonna be almost free. Okay, here's what that almost free looks like. Okay, you need to get the book positioned. So, like, I don't know, let's say you're gonna have 1 or 2 strategy calls or so. If you hire a consultant, you find a consultant, probably going to cost like $600. Then you need to get an outline for the book. If you want somebody to brainstorm with an outline with you, actually an experienced ghostwriter, that would be like a $500 expense. Then ghostwriting. Now, depending on the length, ghostwriting typically by an experienced author ranges between $18,000 up to $150,000. Like, that's market price, okay? So 18 to 150K, people have happily paid 150K for ghostwriting a book. Then you go into developmental editing. So if you see that developmental editing, people charge $0.08 per word. If you have a 50,000 word book, it's going to be $4,000 for that developmental editing. Then you have copy editing. That's $0.018 per word. So if you have a 50,000 word book, then it's going to be $900 for copy editing. Then we need to go into layout and formatting. So that's going to be about $200 for that type of book. Cover. Now, cover is really tricky. Cover you can pay, let's say, starting at $50, although I'd be very careful about the quality of that, up to $5K. Like you can spend $5,000 for a book cover easily. Now, if you want to optimize your book for online sales, you typically need somebody to help you with that. You need a consultant, probably $600 for that. Now, in terms of book description and bio, like we're also looking at a couple $100 to get that done. There was a service once upon a time, I don't know if it still exists, that would write the book descriptions and author bios. And they were charging, I think, around $500. Book launch. Okay. Well, there was this guy, I'm not going to say what his name is, but he charged at some years ago, not sure if he's still in business, $30,000 for a book launch to become a Amazon bestseller. I actually give out his name in my book, Outsource Your Book, but for this video, let's just keep it as is. Then, we need to reach out to libraries. If you're going to start reaching out to libraries, let's say we need to reach 10,000 librarians, and you're going to pay somebody, I don't know, $25 an hour to do that, it's going to take them 500 hours to reach out to 10,000 librarians, and it will cost you $12,500 to pay them to be able to do that. And I talk about libraries because that's something that we do. We reach out to librarians to make sure our authors' books get into libraries. Then we have foreign rights. Like if you want to have an agent pitch your book, like that's also going to essentially it's a full-time job, so you'd also need to spend a salary or like a VA salary at least. So if you're going to sum that all up, taking the highest range here, the lowest is like $88,000 here. If you were gonna find all of the contractors yourself and then manage this project, you're at $88,000 on the lower range. If you wanted to do that yourself, basically get a book positioned, written, distributed, launched to bestseller, and actually make sure there was the right marketing done. So that's the cost of self-publishing.